Hello, everybody, and yes, I am wearing a Snuggie. It got rather cold in Belgium, and I don't want to deal with it. There is some decent things going on right now in the Pokemon universe, so we will hop into the first things, as always, with a little bit of Pokemon Go action. Take it away, CountXevious.
Man, what a regional, what a weekend it was, and we saw how things evolve over time. It's with Pokemon, it's with everything. We saw people pick up spicy Pokemon over the weekend in the Gdansk regional. We saw Tonton Bateuse trying to completely flip the meta on top of its head by running Charjabug and Talonflame and just winning. First ever regional title for Tonton Bateuse, and it was not just Tonton, it was also Zizwile as the second place winner there, running that spicy team of Magnezone and also the Shadow Drifblim. Great picks there. And in number 3, it was Scaffo. Scaffo did a great job reminding us, for Alligator, it's still the best Pokemon in the meta. You either plan for it or you don't. And if you don't, you're going to be very, very, very severely punished. And Uden with his spicy Dragapult. People have been saying for a long time that, Dreepy is a great Pokemon when it released, and Dragapult is going to change the meta. That's what we thought. We thought it would happen, but it never did. But Uden showing every Pokemon has a place if played correctly and if bought into the right meta with the right team composition. Another thing that's going to happen that potentially will change the meta over time is the Community Day for Mankey. Primeape and Annihilape with Raging Fist are the Pokemon to have for sure in the next up-and-coming regionals. Great typings, great coverage, great fast attacks, great charge attacks. If you do not have a good stat product, Primeape or Annihilape, it's the time. You need to go out there, try and get these. And if you were one of the lucky few who have a good stat product, Shadow Primeape or Shadow Annihilape, definitely try to get these moves on them.
Hi everyone, I'm SophChan and I'm bringing you your Pokemon Unite weekly update. We had a huge patch dropping that brings former EX licenses to a much more comfortable stage for everybody that is looking to play in competitive. So if you're not aware, EX licenses are now allowed in competitive, so it was very accurate for Timmy to bring these nerfs right now before LAIC, when we might be seeing this patch as the one live for the tournament. In general, we've had defenders feeling much more comfortable in recent time, but also very restrictive sometimes to the Umbreon or the Slowbro. So this patch also brings Lapras and Greedent as viable options, tanky, but also dealing much more damage, especially with your Perish Song build on the Lapras. So we might see that coming into play, as well as a potential Greedent for Godlu. There, shout out there to Nouns, who are coming to LAIC soon, and I'm gonna get to the LAIC news in a little bit, so let's just continue here on the patch for the moment. Attackers, Glaceon, Aspeon, and Gardevoir, for example, have had the defense and special defense increased, which is great for survivability overall, considering these are very squishy Pokemon. Looking at Gardevoir in particular with a 3-tier evolution and thinking they would benefit from that quite a bit. On top of that, we finished the patch with Ceruledge and Armarouge being nerfed. Considering Ceruledge has been the most banned Pokemon in recent time through Grassroots, it's a moment where we can see that being balanced. So I feel like it's good that it came just before LAIC. Oh, don't forget about your Blissey tweak when you also have your Safeguard and your Helping Hand build just slightly better to compete with your soft boiled, and Azumarill also a little tankier with that defense and special defense. Right, so I mentioned LAIC. It's particularly dear to me because I'm going to be casting there with Spragos, Jibsnax, and Zoinks, which is going to be such an honor. If you're not aware of the dates, I'll just reconfirm those to you. 15th to 17th of November. So all the way, you heard it right, Friday, Saturday, and Championship Sunday for the finals of Unite is just going to be so exciting. One thing that was dropped this week, though, because those LAIC news, they are old. This one is fresh out of the oven. LAIC champions, hear me out, LAIC champions will compete at the Pokemon Unite Asia Champions League. What does that mean? It means that whoever wins at LAIC will have a chance to compete in Asia, in Japan, in March. Next, we also have the news of the 2 community choices that were chosen this week. We have East, we have West. For the West, we have, once again, back-to-back, Baby Mazo, the former Legacy player, your biggest Unite celebrity in Brazil, getting the prize, which is so exciting for him. And we don't have anything different on the side of East either. All Might is your back-to-back community choice champion, and coming from Ace S8 UL Esports, those 2 players have been just so established as your choice, as your personality for Pokemon Unite in recent times. We'll see how things are going to go in 2025, because just an addendum here, Mazo, now not playing for Legacy, has joined DreamHack, who were the 2nd best team in the Brazilian region. So let's keep an eye on that for LASC, as they are, of course, going to be playing in their home country. Our next up is on Grassroots, and we got a couple of tournaments to talk about. First one, I want to approach the Battle Hub Elite Tour. We just finished there last weekend, and the champions of the main event were Nouns Esports. Also, shout out to them. Gonna be going to Brazil in São Paulo to compete on LAIC. So they are definitely on top of that game. And next, for Grassroots as well, we have the new Stellar League that just debuted by Draco-san. So you're probably familiar with his Indigo League. He's now recently launched his Stellar League. The first tournament was the Parade of Titans, the invitational for the event, and the champions of that event were Luminosity. So you already have that usual Luminosity Nouns on top for Grassroots. So we really want to see them performing well when it comes to the beginning of the competitive season. The last tournament I'd like to talk about and bring to your attention is the Unite Mike's Charity Classic that also happened these past 2 weeks. Luminosity was also crowned the champions of this tournament. So, as we said, 2 teams that are looking to be on top once again. Luminosity trying to get that crown back. But that's it for me. Thank you so much to Amanda for allowing me to be in this video. Now, here comes the new game.
So for this week, we just had the Gdansk Regional Championships finish. Of course, the new commentator at the helm of the TCG happened there. This guy, of course. But also, we did see a massive surprise. Well, first of all, we did have Alberto Conti from Italy defeating Tor Reckliffe in the finals of Gdansk. A finals that showed the new against the old guard, and of course would solidify Alberto as one of the best players in Europe currently. We did have a massive increase of Terrapagos decks heading from day 1 to day 2. Terrapagos barely making the graphic as well, but increasing to be one of the most solid decks in day 2. Of course, Raging Bolt once more flopped again at the European Regionals. Of course, Lille had a top 8 finish, but in Gdansk there was no one to see in the top 8. Rich Drago has also solidified itself as the best deck currently, with taking down the 2 past regional championships, including Gdansk. Lugia had no top 8 this weekend, despite Lugia being a very solid choice into the weekend. But that was because that we had the Iron Thorns deck popping right up, which takes very well care of these Lugia decks and makes sure for such an unbalanced meta and wide meta going into the LAIC happening in a short few weeks' time. Of course, as I said, Iron Thorns had 2 top 8s this weekend, something that was really unexpected to happen, but one thing that was for sure is that this deck is there to stay and will probably also make something happen at LAIC. Whether that be top 8s or not, we will just have to find out. God of War, of course, was one of the surprises of the weekend, hitting the stream multiples of times, including the top 4, and as well as being a mirror match of God of War Bayonet in top 8 as the only God of War variant that made top 8. God of War Bayonet Doesn't struggle against a huge lot of decks, but is definitely something that can stop people who doesn't get the right setup in the early stages of the game. So that's going to be very important to look forward to when heading to LASC. Of course, with LASC happening in 2 weeks, the results from Advanced Regionals Championships are one of the most important to look at. Not only do we have a lot of international flavor, but of course before Searching Sparks, which has just had pre-releases these past few weekends, is coming out. LASC is going to be the last event, so definitely Gdansk is something that we have to hook ourselves up to and make sure that we are able to beat decks like Raging Bolt, Lugia, as well as with Draco coming into LASC. Of course, debut of Pokemon TCG Pocket as well, a baby-sized game for Pokemon TCG Live, of course, but definitely something that is very doable to play with. Has a stable metagame which can be searched up online, of course, and just make sure you can open loads of packs. This is all from me for this time, but of course, make sure that you keep watching some weekly news of Pokemon and stay tuned for the LASC variant.
Hello trainers, Ben Kyriakou here to tell you more about what's been happening in the Pokemon video game. We are, as ever, hot off the heels of another regional championship here in Europe, and of course this time it was none other than Gdansk. It's a beautiful city and one with a rich maritime history that we were able to enjoy this weekend. If there was ever a tournament to start off as you mean to go on, it was this one. We kicked things off in round 2 with what could have been a finals. Dortmund finalist Matty Morgan played João Garcia, who placed top 4 in the Lille Regional Championships. But this Dondozo mirror wasn't the one you expect. Oh no. Both of these trainers played Dondozo without its normal partner Tatsugiri, with João taking advantage of Dondozo's natural bulk and the ability to use one-hit KO moves in Fisher.
That is going to be a one-hit knockout!
Sometimes proving that you only have to use it once during a match. Old trainers, young trainers. That's just a selfish perception of people. Truly skilled trainers always find a way to win. And our rising star in the seniors division, Michał Kwiatkowski, was able to dispatch of Germany's Sebastian Kaiser in an epic display of why King Gambit has been such a force to be reckoned with this regulation set. And with that, day 1 was drawing to a close. If you thought there wasn't going to be any more action, then you have another thing coming. Round 8, the last round of the day, decided by community choice, featured none other than Niels Dunlop. But in one of the most inspirational turn of events in this tournament, it was actually Ranieri Calderi that was able to overcome our Lille Regional Championship, catapulting him into day 2, the first day 2 he has ever made in his career, with a 6-2 record. Day 2 in Gdansk, 478 players in the Masters division were cut down to only 68, but there were 2 undefeated players after day 1 and 8 rounds of Swiss, Michal Kelsch and of course Marco Silva, getting undefeated records and pretty much securing their ticket into our asymmetrical Top Cup. Alongside Michal and Marco, several players managed to make it all the way into our Top Cup, with Bartosz Krzyszkowski, Michał Kwiatkowski and Bartosz Ekiet representing Poland. Of course, it all comes down to the finals. 2 trainers made it all the way in 2-time international champion Marco Silva and Federico Camporisi, who made it close before but never quite managed to claim a title for himself. And we've seen explosive finals before, but this one was on another level. With a weather war raging on between Federico's rain-based team and Marco's sun-based team, it could have gone either way. Game 1 went quickly to Marco, where Porygon 2 and its download boosted Terra Blast alongside Ursaluna were too much for Federico's team to be able to handle in the sun. Game 2, starting out like Game 1, with Marco being able to get the early knockout on Federico's supportive Electabuzz, but it wasn't over. Pelipper managed to hit a key super effective Hurricane on the fighting type Porygon 2 in the sun that hit itself in confusion. This was the window back in the game that Federico needed to take our finals to a Game 3. This is it. Game 3 of the finals, Marco leading out with his trusty combination of Porygon 2 and Charizard, but Federico making a bold switch up and leading an unusual King Gambit and Basculegion, securing the weather turn 1 with a switch and guaranteeing super effective damage on the Pokemon that Marco had taken in both games 1 and 2. With a super effective flip turn, Federico was off to the perfect start, and Marco's Charizard, one of his main sources of damage all the way through the event, was down for the count. Where there's a bear, there's a way through. Marco managed to position Ursaluna with its Guts ability activated in Trick Room, but with a brave Swords Dance on King Gambit, it just wasn't enough. One hit knockout after one hit knockout left Federico finally, in Game 3, managing to win the Weather War for the first time, shutting down Torkoal's Eruption and allowing Pelipper's Weather Ball to pick up the final KO, and crown Federico Camporisi as our Gdansk regional champion.